welcome to A Girl, Some Guys, and a Movie. Today, our featured film that we discuss is going to be the 1972 practical effects classic Night of the Lepus. And with me today is Janet from Another Planet and Six Nations, 31 Kings. How are you two today?
Good.
Good deal.
Doing well.
We are streaming through the Rumble app right now, and I've got to say, actually, I'm pretty impressed with how Rumble is handling things. There are some UI issues that we would like to work through, but the Rumble app is through the browser and it's kind of basic. And I'm not really in the mood to try to work 200 hours on OBS to get that to where I need it absolutely amazed until the next update comes out and I got to fine tune it again. Rumble seems to have a really good little studio. Got a few things you have to fiddle with. When you first connect your speakers and your microphone and your camera, it takes about 3 seconds for everything to get humming, get the blood flow, so you can get your camera feed reflected back on you. But Rumble's doing pretty good. Kind of interesting. They do have some things in Rumble that I like a little better than Restream, even though Restream does offer some other stuff. Rumble's studio is only costing me like $10 a month, along with the Rumble package that I have, and it seems to be pretty good. Other than that, we're going to talk about this movie, and this movie came about because my mom and I were discussing films, and I said, I want to look at a movie that not many people have watched or talked about. And she's like, do you want to watch a good movie or a bad movie? I said, it doesn't really matter. I just want to watch a movie that we can discuss that nobody has talked about much, because a lot of people are going to talk about the Minecraft film, or they're going to talk about super popular movie 35, or we have never seen Die Hard before, so we're going to talk about that. No. We're not cinephiles by any means, but we do watch a lot of American media, and just something that nobody has discussed in length would be nice. And so Mom's like, have you ever seen Night of the Lepus? It's a silly, stupid movie, but I think you might enjoy it. No. And so that was the quest for that, and I thought it would be a good thing to add for April, because that's kind of a funny month. You have the April Fool's Day. It'd be a nice month for some comedies. And we watched it. We just finished watching that movie. And I've got to say, thank you for coming to our show today. Hey, Crafting Gamer, how you been, sir?
It's definitely a gem of a film.
It's different. It really is different. I was not expecting it. You can find it all across the internet. You don't really even have to pay a service for it. You can find it just by Googling it and then looking for videos. It's a different film. It's got Rory Calhoun, Janet Leigh from Psycho fame, and you've got Deforest Kelley and kind of supporting actor. Although he kind of comes off more like a main character. To me, he did.
Yeah, Stuart Whitman's in it.
Yeah.
Paul Fix. William Elliott. There's a lot of older movie and TV serial actors and actresses in this.
Most of them from, I think, were from. I was just waiting. I didn't know how I should jump in or whatever, but most of them were from old westerns, and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had two of the characters that were also both the doctor on Star Trek Enterprise, which I thought was pretty interesting. So getting to see them both work together, Paul Fix and DeForest Kelley, they were both medical officer, the head medical officer on Star Trek. So for the same ship at different times. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, Paul was part of the pilot episode, I think, if I remember correctly.
I think so. I'd have to go back and look at it, but refresh my memory. But it's been so long. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. And and then there was also as a appearance by Jerry. What was his name? Dunphy or something like that, as a television newscaster in the movie.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of stars in it. So I was looking, trying to research to find money. How much money that they spent. I forgot my camera's not on. We turned it on. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to do it again. Okay. I was surprised. I couldn't find anything about how much money they spent on this movie to make it, because they had a whole buttload of stars in it. And they did spend a lot of money on, I had to have, on certain sets and buildings and things like that. And the fact that they made rabbit costumes for the people that were attacking the people, so they'd actually have something furry
Mhm.
jumping on them. So they did have a lot of things like that in it. And the practical effects were halfway decent. I was shocked that the people being attacked by the rabbits, and they never explained why the rabbits all of a sudden eat meat. But the fact that they attack everyone and kill them, but you don't see any legs missing, hands missing, anything missing. It's just blood on everything, and like they had 2 or 3 bites, but they're covered with blood. That was interesting. There was gaps in it that way for me. You'd think that somebody, an advisor on there, would have wanted to put more detail into the actual gruesomeness, since they went so much work to make it showing their rabbits killing, humans and horses and cattle and other animals, but they didn't put too much effort into what they look like afterward. You know what I mean? To make it realistic. Even though the special effects weren't really good, little things like that I think would have made a huge difference. What do you think?
There was a lot of
The
parts of the movie. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the tone of the film, I guess, was supposed to be more sci-fi than horror, because, like, you look at Bucket of Blood, or any of the schlock horror movies from the late '60s and early '70s and
Hmm.
onward. There was a lot more gore, a lot more detail in the gore. This was, I guess, part of the whole bunch of, like, environmental animal films, like, you know, Food of the Gods, or like the book Last Blade of Grass. I forget the name of the movie that they named after it, but the environmental disaster films. One of my favorites, The Swarm, with Michael Caine.
It's such a cute little
God,
rabbit.
if they fed them strawberries, that would be more scary.
Well, that's raspberries. Raspberries have a better dying effect than
A better,
strawberries would.
okay, yeah, because, like, the scene of the mine shaft, which I think you missed.
No, I saw that.
That was kind of scary. Oh, you saw that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing
That was
is,
scary.
too,
'Cause-
that part of it, when they did blow up the tunnels and stuff, don't they realize rabbits are tunnelers? So just little aspects like that, to me, took the story. And the fact that the music that they used, or the sound effects or whatever that they were using, that it was like the same sound I hear in my ear right now, since I almost blew my eardrum out. And also, I didn't like that. It was very irritating. And also, I felt like they should have used some type of warning to let you know that you might have a seizure from watching it with all those weird sound
Sorry.
effects. You know, it was just really weird, and it did hurt my ear a lot. I mean, I had to keep my hand over my ear, because I almost blew my eardrum off. But the thing is that I just didn't, that took me out of the scenes, even though I really wanted to enjoy the scenes, the sound effects and gaps in the story being put together, you could definitely tell this director is not good at doing science fiction
No,
at all, or
no,
horror. This
no.
is definitely they. You could tell they tried to. He tried to film it like he was filming an old western, and you
Yeah,
can't.
it felt like a western.
So I did read a lot about some of the people saying that the actors were bad. I didn't think the acting was bad, that really, considering when the movie was made and the fact that they didn't have blue screens, they didn't have the technology that we have today to see something or have someone in a suit. But like, the woman that went up to her window and was looking out before the rabbit jumped through, that was a believable actress. I mean, she seemed like, she was really going to look out the window to see what was out there. It was just I think a lot of it had to do with editing, because I didn't really know the people that were editing, it didn't really understand how to edit sci-fi. Just little things like that I noticed. They should have had a specific person on set with this new director to not he wasn't new, I mean new to sci-fi horror, to
And,
help him transition scenes and things like that, and how to work into things with someone that actually worked on horror or sci-fi before. I think that would have made a huge difference on how good this could have turned out. I'll just put it at that.
yeah, there's a lot of this movie that I wanted to really enjoy and appreciate, but there's part of the film, like the sound effects were really bad. I The sound effects were the worst part of the film for me. Like
Yeah,
I
sound.
really I got to compare this movie's sound effects to the sound design on Suburban Sasquatch, which Janet hasn't seen yet either. And I want to show that movie to Janet. I really do. Just to show her that Willy's Wonderland is a masterpiece. We can see a movie in that. We can actually watch a movie with with Willy's Wonderland. There's actually like a beginning, middle, and an end. It's pointless. It's stupid, but it's there. And things like Suburban Sasquatch, like, was made for $16 and had a female gorilla costume with tits, and that's the worst movie I've ever seen.
Were you able to find out how much
I,
money?
I can't find out how much money. I can't find the production notes on the cash, but I'm willing to bet this movie was about $200,000 for what it was.
Yeah, it
The
didn't seem like
majority of the pricing, I actually think majority of all this is the fees for the permits for the film to be done by the train tracks and for the sets to be built. I don't think the actors cost that much.
Well, I don't know for sure about that part of it, but I can tell you right now that the rules and regulations that are on filming today with animals and on railroad tracks and things like that, and even handling guns and weapons was way lax back. When was this movie made?
1971 was
1970.
filmed, and so it was released in 72.
Yeah, I would almost bet that they didn't have to spend a lot of money on the on that type of stuff.
Now, I think the majority of this, the costliest parts were filming the railroad track scenes with the trains on them, because you had to
Yeah,
have lights, you had to have a train, you had to pay. I think there was some like union fees they had to
I
pay.
was going to say, well, maybe with the trains, you'd have to pay for the conductor and the other people, the track men, that move the switches and things like that. You would have to pay them a they probably even made more money than the actors did. But wasn't I mean, there was 4 or 5 of them that were pretty big, popular still back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
So
Rory Calhoun was pretty
they
big.
had to pay them
Mix
a
was
little bit
big.
of money.
Janet Leigh used to always pack him in the box office, but this
Uh,
movie here, she really didn't do a whole lot. I mean, she had the mommy daughter
yeah.
that literally every fucking time it's time to have the kid on set, I felt like I was watching one of the Jurassic Park films with their irritating kids. Like
Yeah, well,
direct.
now that you said that, that reminded me of two things. I took some notes. I said the fact that a mother, okay, this really, I just hated this part of it. That whole scene with the camper,
Mhm.
you know, 'cause as soon as she drove off road and you saw her go straight for the sand, I was like, well, what idiot does that? You know what I mean?
Uh,
Especially when you got a heavy truck.
yeah.
But besides that, it said what mother would even think, who would even think about getting out of the vehicle after witnessing what she just witnessed, right?
Mhm.
The night, couple nights before, with her daughter's life at stake. That was just ridiculous. When she gets her out of the camper and she's on her hands and knees, not even paying attention to what's going on around her. All of that to me was just totally back assward. It didn't make any sense at all for a mother, you know, that's supposed to be as smart as this person.
There's some challenges in the script that the viewer has to
Yeah,
overcome.
yeah, really, really, you have to really, it's giant caverns you have to basically jump over. And now the campiness of it, I enjoyed. I really enjoyed the scenes with the rabbits. The slow motion I thought was kind of cool. I hated the sound effects. Now that hurt my ear, but it might not have bothered me so much if my ear wasn't hurting. But the music, it almost seemed like it was two different directors filming two different sets, which they probably were, because I know the rabbits were filmed on probably with a, you know, in a warehouse or something where they had fake sets and buildings to make the rabbits look bigger, that type of stuff.
Yeah, the
So
miniatures.
I'm pretty sure they probably had second crew doing most of the filming. You know, the other director that's in second crew that usually does the hand shots and the people walk across the street where you don't have to see the actor's face. You know, all those extra editing parts that they put in. You know, with the stand-ins and stuff like that. Those scenes. The second director probably filmed all of that stuff. That's why, in a way, it does look like this. The second director that did the rabbit scenes and stuff actually knew a little bit about sci-fi and horror compared to the scenes where, like, when you had the actor walking by the barn and he sees the person with their chewed up pants but no bites on the legs, right? Stuff like that. So you could definitely tell it was two different sets of people working on different scenes, because even the scenes where you see the rabbit's mouth coming down, you know, it just seemed like they knew what they were doing to me. So I don't know. I had a hard time adjusting that, and I didn't know if that was just because of the way they did it and the editing was bad, or if it's so much it really was two different directors filming the two different things. You see what does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So I definitely,
I
yeah.
found some financial info.
Oh, you did? Good.
Nothing that says anything about the box office. There's absolutely nothing on box office sales.
Hmm.
But according to thenumbers.com, estimated domestic Blu-ray sales and total estimated domestic video sales, it came out to be about $110,416.
And I just found this. It's $900,000 for the estimated budget off of IMDb.
Oh, okay. So it was about 100,000,
Yeah,
which is, I guess, consider a lot of money in the 1970s.
1970s is a huge chunk of money.
So, and I bet most of
So
that went to pay the railroad people, uh, that all that stuff, because the electricity really wasn't there with the people. It was on the set where they had the miniatures and stuff. You see what I mean? There's a big difference in that. But the actual train tracks, when you see the people and the train goes by them and they're standing there and stuff, so they would definitely have to have professionals, you know, that to drive a train and move the tracks and do those things. So that, I'm sure they paid a pretty penny for that for the union people, but also for the high end actors. I'm sure that the ones that you saw the most, you know, were the ones that got paid well.
Yeah, the miniatures in this movie were really well done.
I
Uh,
thought it was done too.
I,
Really good.
I was really surprised at how the miniatures came out and how they were able to film it and make the rabbits look much bigger than what they truly are. I I'm a miniatures guy. What do I have on my desk? But I mean, I'm just saying that part there probably was one of the top costs of this movie. Hey, Sort of Poopus, how you doing, sir? This film surprised me for the fact that you had so much work given to the miniature scenes that the script, the actions some of the actors took, especially the mom.
Yeah.
I think that's a real like the person that wrote the script didn't understand sci-fi. He didn't understand people. He was a good Western writer because very rarely in a Western do you have a fully realized female character. I'm sorry, Janet. I mean, maybe in a few more recent films do you have really good Western women that are, more
Well,
amiable.
the fact that she was in a bunch of movies, and wasn't she in The Birds and a few other big movies?
She was in
Right.
Psycho.
Okay, in Psycho, I mean, she was a higher actress, so the director and other people would listen to what she had to say, even if the script was bad, and she said this is a bad script or whatever. You'd think as a mother, because isn't she Jennifer? What's her name?
Nope, she's Jamie Lee Curtis's
Jamie
mom
Lee Curtis's mother. Okay,
and
so,
Kathy
and
Curtis's
her
mom.
husband was a famous actor at the time
Yeah.
too. So the fact that she didn't even say, "Hey, why would I get out of the vehicle and not run to the back and want my daughter in the safety and get in the back of the camper?" Because when she got stuck, she knew her husband sooner or later was going to realize she's not where she's supposed to be, and you would want to keep your child safe. To me, and them looking out of the window and screaming and things like that because the camper's rocking or whatever else would have been more realistic than seeing her trying to get her tire unstuck. She just didn't seem like that kind of a mother. She seemed more like a mother that would be what do you call it, a hovering mom that hovers over her kid. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
it didn't come across
Yeah.
that way in the script. And the fact that she didn't even tell them, hey, this is really stupid. I should be in the camper trying to keep my child safe, as a mother herself. I don't know. To me, it just didn't seem, it didn't fit. It just did not, it was
That
totally.
whole scene made for an excellent miniature because
Yeah, the
she's
excellent.
there armed with a
Good.
flare. She's armed
With
with
the
a road flare, and she's flashing it in the face of these giant mutant
Which he should have
cannibalistic
used the
bunny.
flare and ran to the back of the camper and got in. You see what I mean? Common sense. It
Mhm.
just it totally threw her under the bus. This whole scene to me threw her whole acting of the whole movie under the bus. It made her look like just a dumbass. And you didn't see her again after that. So she was probably gone when they were talking about her being in the helicopter and whatever else. She wasn't even. She was already finished with her stuff that she was supposed to film. But to me, it was just really, really done really bad. I just thought it was horrible. So, and the fact that she didn't use her flare to escape, you know what I mean? I don't know. And what is she risking her life to get a tire out in the middle of the night? I don't know. None of it made sense. It was totally dumb. And the fact that she didn't get in the back of the camper and save herself for her child, it's her child's not looking out the window watching her mother get eaten by rabbits. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It was just really stupid. Even though, it's a stupid movie. I mean, think about it. You got giant rabbits that are eating people. I mean, it's stupid,
It's a
but
beer and pretzels movie.
it can still be entertaining and believable to people that like sci-fi horror if they try to make a script that that's as realistic as possible, because a person that's going to buy a ticket is going there because they want to see a sci-fi horror. You know what I mean? You see what I mean? So I don't know. There was so many bad things about this movie. It's just really hard to get past it. But the one best thing that I did love is, I agree with Bruce, is the miniatures. They did a great job. That's why I really believe whoever filmed that stuff, the miniatures, in the caves, all that stuff was just really well done. So whoever that person was in charge of those props and those sets and the herding of the rabbits, or whatever you want to call it, to me, that was the best part of this movie. That person should be lifted up a little.
Sort of Poopas asks, would the movie have been scarier if it used polar bears instead of rabbits? Absolutely. For the run up of this film, theater goers that were watching the trailers saw no footage of rabbits. They just saw a bunch of people running and Night of the Lepus, and that was it. That was completely all it was. And this movie kind of bombed at the box office because it doesn't really talk about box office draw. They say they almost spent $1 million on it. No hint on how much the box office was. They made 110,000 on DVD, Blu-ray, Laserdisc sales. That's really not good. But this movie,
In 1972 money, that would have been 7 times the amount, though.
Yeah, and
They had DVD and VHS back then.
Yeah, this film had some really interesting parts. I liked the fact that the script is literally at the point of so bad it's good quality, but it never quite achieves schlock status. There's like a golden schlock that some movies achieve because they're really bad. Like just what's Janet's favorite movie to watch in public, and that's fucking Rocky Horror Picture Show. It never quite gets there, but it does entertain. It just doesn't entertain as much as I wanted it to, and I can understand why this movie has such a low approval rating. It's like a 2.8 or something like that on IMDb. It's ridiculously low, and I'm happy I saw it because now I can say like, okay, well now I've seen like one of those really bad movies, but at the same time, there's a series of films out there that this movie kind of borrows from. It was at the same time or a little bit before where you had classics like Them and the radiation fueled films like Godzilla kind of started it all, I guess. But it just we really this isn't the bottom of the barrel. There's a lot worse. There's Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, this wasn't as bad as that.
But this
when I watched this,
I haven't found one yet that's worse. So this is definitely higher up. I recommend this one way before I would ever recommend that other movie, which I would never recommend.
I don't understand Janet.
So when I was watching this, I came to the realization that okay, this is out in the desert, parts of Arizona. It's got killer animals, and it made me harken back to Them. In fact, while we were watching this, we were discussing all the various 70s killer animal movies, killer bee movies, you name it, and it touched base with a couple of dusty memories that I had. So, have any of you watched the movie Nightwing or read the book that was written from the screenplay? So when they were messing with the bats earlier, when they first introduced the college scientist or whatever, he was recording the sounds of the bats to find a more humane way of getting the bats out of the area without having to poison them. And it made me think of Nightwing, which was an interesting horror movie. It had to do with Native American folklore and a curse that was put down, and these like vampire bats that would bring the end of the world. And there's a main character who plays the sheriff, and he's like Hopi Indian, and you have to go undo the curse that this guy Abner put on the community, and it was really cool. And then it also had the environmental thing, like you got the big bad corporation that wants oil rights or what have you, and then it's juxtaposed with the indigenous population, and it was actually a really well done movie in my opinion. Wasn't the greatest budget, but this movie made me think of that. And then what was the other one that I was thinking of? Gargoyles. That's right. So
That's
the
a great.
gargoyles are out there in the desert, and they're picking off people. And I was like, God, now I want to watch those two movies again. So, like, yeah, this movie wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the worst. It's
Definitely not this.
definitely a beer and pretzels type of thing. It definitely earned its 4-star rating on IMDb. Um, Practical
Four
effects
stars
were
out of five.
pretty game.
Out of 10.
Oh, out of 10. Okay, that's a good. But I
Yeah.
agree with that. One thing I did get a nostalgic feeling watching it, seeing some of these actors, and I can't remember all their names, like the sheriff in town, that
Mhm.
actor, and then there was another one. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what part he had. I think he was the one that had the Indian wife and daughter, and he had the rifle, and he ended up throwing it on the side of the road.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
It was, I can't remember what his name is,
that was
but my
Hellman.
mom used to watch all these westerns, with a lot of these people, and it was very nostalgic for me thinking about sitting with my mom on the couch watching some of these old TV shows that she loved with my grandma in her recliner. So that I really liked. I liked that nostalgic part of it. It made me feel like I was younger again, and I like that sometimes. It's just that I was wanting more, more out of this. But it was, I don't know, I can't explain all of it, but I looked it up, and it says the film was the first science fiction work for this producer, A.C. Lyles, and for the director, William F. Claxon or something like that. So both of them were brand new to this type of thing. That's sad because I don't know what studio made this movie, but that's why it's so important to have staff for your company, whatever company is, like a MGM or whatever it is, Fox. They have people on staff that they send to advise people on how to, put certain things in and do certain things and what to look for and what to try not to do. And it sure seemed like they dropped the ball on this one because it had potential. Okay, because even though a lot of people say, "Oh, rabbits can't be scary," I think they could be scary, and in some of the scenes I actually thought were scary, like when they showed the rabbits jumping off the giant cliff area down onto the cattle, and they're all mooing, and just little things like that. My imagination could make it scary. Uh, because I like sci-fi horror, you see, you know what I mean. So I thought it made me have nightmares. The movie, The Thing. Now it was definitely done a lot better than this, but some movies, even schlocky ones, can give you the creeps, and scare you and make you think twice the next time you see a certain animal, not to get near it. Raccoons or whatever. I think raccoons would be a really scary to think about a raccoon that could be as big as a horse. You know what I mean? That would be horrifying to me. But I don't know. It's just in a way I'm kind of sad because there was potential in this idea, but it just seemed like the two uh, groups of people didn't get together and work together to make it go together properly. Like the person that filmed the rabbits actually supposedly killing people or whatever and destroying the town didn't go and stand there when they did the show, when they were filming after the aftermath, showing the bodies and stuff like that. Because he would have said, "Hey, if that rabbit did this, that, and the other, this would have been chewed on, or this would," you know what I mean? It was like they didn't talk to each other while they were filming, and then the editor had to do the best they could with this just shit that he is handed. You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds really bad, but I'm trying to be honest about it.
Those storm cellar doors that they hid in under the house, and then they started shooting up the floor, killing the rabbits in the kitchen. Like
Yeah.
that would have lasted a whole of like 10 seconds maybe.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, the scene where they're shooting through the
this movie
door
was
of the cellar too. That was kind of like you blow holes in the door, and now they just rip a hole through it, come right in. I don't know. It was really.
Got an 80-pound French lop rabbit that's going to chew through the rest of the door and then gnaw through your
So hard
front
of them.
door.
You killed 2, and now you got 25 trying to get in there to eat you.
The blood squibs, I don't think the blood squibs were done that good. Like, that was one of the parts that I really had a problem with, was the blood squibs. I know that sounds pretty lame. Bruce, you're watching a movie that was made for less than $1 million, and the money that was spent was on the miniatures, not on the blood squibs or makeup or anything like that.
Yeah,
And
I would think so.
the makeup on this movie was really, really not. The purchaser, the prop master, really could have been given like an actual class or two before the movie, because it felt like this movie was like a western, but it was directed by a western where, like, it was Mulberry. Nothing ever happened, and so, like, the entire town is completely unaware of things. Like, there's no JSAs, there's no discussions of like what could go wrong. The sheriff isn't a fucking Korean War vet. It's somebody else that
It was Mayberry.
It's Mayberry.
Yeah.
You know?
And what was funny to me was the fact that the guy filming all these great actors from westerns, right?
Mhm.
And then they're walking past all the chaos, like when the car drives up and there's giant holes in the window, and he says, "We're not going in here to see you. We can't stay here because this is just a ghost town or whatever." And he drives off, and then the other guy walks up and looks, and there's a whole herd of rabbits in there with bodies laying there, barely bitten, and like, I don't know, it was just really stupid. But the fact that they didn't do the details of the bodies, because you could see when the rabbits are all laying around. Okay, that looked realistic, and all the furniture's laying down, and the rabbits. Some of them have dirt, and some of them have blood on them, things like that around their faces, like they've been gnawing on stuff. That looked really good. But then when the scene came where this other director is filming the people looking through the window, and you see the legs of a person, it just didn't look like it belonged in the same scene. I don't know. It just took me in and out of the story, which is, you can't have that happen too often, because then you just go, well, this, when's it going to be over?
Doesn't give a shit about itself.
Yeah. So
I actually feel like towards the middle point of the movie, like, the director's like, "Fuck it, we're gonna get paid.
yeah.
Let's put in minimum effort, guys."
No, I really feel like both sides really did a good job.
Yeah,
and
but
tried to make it believable. But at the end, it was the editor going, "Man, I hope I get paid." While he was trying to put two whole different movies together and make it look, I don't know, make it look better, considering. And this, normally I bitch and moan about how crappy the editors are, but actually, you think about it, this editor really didn't have a lot to work with.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
So I feel sorry for this editor that had to work on this movie. Really,
it was a bit fantastical with the train track being electrified too.
Oh yeah, I thought it was great.
The fact that you got thousands of rabbits and they're all getting fried on the train track.
Mm-hmm.
It looked cool. But realistically, they'd probably just hop over it, because they were the size almost of compact cars at that point.
Well, what they were trying to do because to me it was believable, simply for the fact a lot of people don't think rabbits are very smart. You know what I mean? They hop around in the woods, and all they want to do is eat, have babies, and make more babies, and sleep, and then eat. That's what people think about cows too. Most people, when they look at animals, they don't think of them as thinking, and trying to work their way out of something. You know what I mean? So to me, that wasn't so bad of a thing. It's just that the sci-fi part, which was the sci-fi horror, which was filmed of the actual rabbits going through the little towns and all that stuff, every single thing they did, I liked. I thought that everything that was done with the miniatures and the rabbits, and the way the camera angles were, everything, even with the electricity going up, even though you could tell it was in front of the rabbits, it wasn't really on the rabbits, they still did a good job at trying to make it as believable as possible. The only scene that I didn't like with the miniatures when the rabbits were coming out was the tomatoes laying all over the ground,
Yeah.
because you could tell it looked like they just took a whole bunch of teeny tiny tomatoes and rolled them on the ground with the rabbits. To me, it would have been better if they'd made miniature like pumpkins or watermelons to make them look really small compared to the big rabbits, instead of doing the tomatoes, because everybody knows tomatoes are small. You see what I mean? Little things like that I would have done a little different. But most every scene, to me the one reason why I would give it a higher score is simply because I thought the people that worked with the miniatures and the rabbits, the way they filmed it, everything about that part of it, I thought was well done. Pretty good considering it was in the early
I
1970s.
can't complain with that dissertation. I really agree with that.
Sound effects. I did not like
The
whatever
sound effect,
choice.
whoever did the sound effects needs to get like never have a job, but pretty certain they didn't
It
have a
was
job
bad.
after this. I don't know. I like this movie in a lot of aspects. I'm actually going to give it a better than 50% review. I think this movie does pretty well. The script is kind of clunky. The performance from Janet Leigh and actions she makes are kind of wonky. The fact she didn't stand up and be like arguing about the script, like why is my character doing this? Why am I driving a camper into the sand? This is bad.
Mhm.
And I had a real issue.
You had to have her in peril. I understood that part of it. It was the fact that when they put her in peril, she didn't react like a mom. You know,
No,
she's supposed to be a mom, and she is a mom in real life, but she didn't act like a mom. And to me, that made her look like a bad actress, even though I know she isn't. See, that's what's sad about that whole scene to me.
she does
I'm
a good
wondering.
job. Good. Six
I'm
Nation.
wondering if this is like one of those things like the actors know each other. They've been around the block, and maybe they know a producer or the director, and they're like, "Oh, you're starting this new sci-fi thing that you've never done. Like, let's all get together and like see if we can put this thing together." And then they're like, "Oh shit, the script sucks. Well, we've already invested a whole shit ton of money. Let's just get paid." And it was a paycheck movie for everybody. And like, if it made more than broke even, like, huzzah!
Yeah, that could be possible.
I
I
don't
could
know.
see that. I could see that a lot. This
But
movie had a lot of that in it.
what was really good, though, that I could tell, the people that did the parts with the miniatures and the rabbits cared about the script because they had to make miniatures for the script to fit wherever the rabbits parts were going to be. So the detail they went through with trying to make it look like the bigger version that they filmed in Arizona. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That is what's sad to me. It's the fact that the detail they went through trying to make their part the best they could, the visuals with the angles of the cameras, even the spotlight shining down supposedly from the helicopter onto the rabbits. I mean, the details like that took a vision. It took somebody thinking about it, what it's going to look like with this camper and all this stuff with the rabbits to make them look huge. They did the details, they did the extra effort, and it just sad to me that that part of the movie got ruined. Basically, it made the draw of the people not want to see it simply because the people that make westerns were happy with the fake western blood and the fake western look of the dead people, because usually it's just a gunshot, you just have a tiny speck of blood on their shirt and they're laying there. You see what I mean? But these were people that were supposed to be eaten by rabbits, but they didn't have any wounds on their body, but they were covered with. They took cans of blood, just threw it all over them. To me, it was sad because they did shoddy work on the part with the actors all the effort went in that cared about the script being kick ass. You know what I'm saying? Was all the people that did the miniatures with the rabbits and all that stuff, and that was a lot of work. You could tell they looked at it. they looked through the camera and tried to make sure it looked a certain way, and you could see the effort in that. And that part of it is the reason why I would give it over 50. It's simply for that stuff, not so much for the direction of the producers or for the actual director, for the actors, because some of the scenes with the real people were pretty good, but as soon as it came to the scenes of the aftermath, that's where it went down the toilet for me. Sorry. I
Yeah,
wanted to be
you
really
could
good.
juxtapose this with Star Wars and Industrial Light and Magic, and similar similar theme. We got miniatures. We gotta make this look really good, but you can see where like a really low budget and not quite so talented. I'm not gonna say like they sucked at what they did, because what they did was excellent, but it wasn't of the caliber that 5 years later we find in A New Hope. Like that's the gold standard of miniatures. So yeah, this movie wasn't horrible. It's a
No.
bad movie, yes, but it wasn't horrible. It's watchable. It's great if you got a bunch of people to riff on it, and you got your beer and pretzels. It's it's one of those movies where you have to pair it with another film in a similar genre, like Attack of the Killer Shrews.
Attack of the
I can
Killer
see
Shrews or
doing a
uh,
double feature with that.
Kingdom of Spiders.
Yeah, Kingdom of the Spiders. God, that's an excellent movie too.
And
Or the giant Gila monster movie of
I,
the 50s.
I would watch, and I have watched movies in this genre quite a bit. I've not seen all of them. I would like to, just for the fact that like chances are I'll still be more entertained than if I go watch a Barbie movie or something. Just saying. Janet, what is your score for this movie?
Well, let's see. Um, I would have to probably give it a 50, a 5, I guess, at a 5 out of 10, or a 2.5 out of 5 stars. Simply for, to me, the sci-fi horror part of it, I thought was really good. But when it came to the other part with the actual director and the actors, um, that was where the script fell apart, is because they just didn't seem to care as much about making a good film as the people that did the miniature work with the rabbits, the filming of the rabbits and stuff like that, for the actual sci-fi horror side, which was sad, because I was hoping for more with a movie with my bones in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was excited about seeing it, and then finding out that they just they just dropped the ball. It was like they wanted to make a go just so they could say it in their resume that they'd worked on a sci-fi, you know, but they didn't put any effort into it. You could tell that they'd rather make westerns and then try to make somebody, uh, happy to make a sci-fi horror. So that's my score. This is the lowest, one of the lowest scores I think I've ever given.
Yeah, you usually try to look on the bright side of everything. I've noticed.
I really did. I found a lot of bright side in it, but I really had to dig, you know, while I was watching it, because it just made me really sad, because I was nostalgic about seeing bones in a movie that wasn't Star Trek. I was real excited about it, but I got let down really bad, because it just seemed like the people that were in charge. I'm not saying the actors, because I think the actors did what they felt they had to do, considering it was uh, I don't know. It's sad, because it seems like not one of the actors actually went and watched them film any of the scenes with the rabbits to see the difference in the way they were filming and what they would expect it to come out like at the end. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like they came, they did their parts, and they left, just like what you were saying. They just wanted their checks because they knew that it was going to be probably shit because of who the director was. But that's my score.
Okay. Josh, what did you think?
Well, it's interesting because I was thinking back to the start of the problem. We got Stuart Whitman playing Roy Bennett, and Janet Leigh is his wife, Jerry Bennett, and then you got Melanie Fullerton, who was Amanda Bennett, the mommy girl,
Hmm.
and she really liked rabbits, but she had no idea that they were being genetically engineered. Now, Rory Calhoun plays Cole Hillman, the rancher, and props to him for trying to get rid of the rabbit infestation without resorting to petrochems or pesticides and other crap, cyanide poison to kill off the rabbits. Because he's an environmental rancher. He doesn't want to poison his livestock, but there's this huge problem with these rabbits. So he talks to his buddy Roy to find a more humane way of doing it, and he's like, "Why don't we do hormone therapy? Theoretically, that should work. You make it so that they don't want to breed." But then little girl goes and swaps out the control animal with one of the infected ones, and Gilman's son, who's a up and coming rancher himself, sees the rabbit and he's like, "No, get rid of that thing." And earlier, Hillman lost his horse to a rabbit hole, had to shoot his poor horse. So yeah, kid's traumatized. Damn rabbits. Tosses it. It goes out into the wild, and now we got mutant rabbits eating people. So, if you're a parent and you have children, warn them not to mess with genetically engineered animals because they will kill you.
I could almost say, yeah, I kind
That
of
being,
stand by that assessment.
with that being said, the movie, IMDb gives it what, 4 stars out of
Out of 10.
out of
Yeah.
10, 4.1. It earned every damn star. All right. I'm going to go and say that this was above average, probably no more than 55 and 3/4, because there was some really good parts. It's just that it didn't all gel together. And yeah, that's going to be my assessment there. It's going to be 55 out of 100. It's worth the watch. It's not going to be spectacular. It's probably going to be background noise unless you're laughing your ass off. But
There are some parts where the
look at the
script makes you
scene.
laugh.
Yeah, look at the scenes and then look at the miniatures and how they do the helicopter, and then it's a dude with a flashlight shining it on the bunnies. Then you got the
I love
scene
that.
where
Little scenes like that I like.
Leigh is fighting off a horde of killer rabbits with the road flare. She's not getting into the damn vehicle. But then they cut to the miniature of the RV, and there's a little red light on the one side, but you don't see her moving. But you see the rabbits, and then you see the rabbits, and they're getting hit with a red spotlight, and it's like, ooh, tension, drama, ooh, it was great.
They tried. They
And then-
fucking tried, you know?
In fact, when she threw the one, it set that one rabbit on fire.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I
Remember?
wanted
It
to
burst into flames.
mention.
I laughed a little on
Was this
that part.
before they started doing the whole no animal is harmed in the making of this feature, because like they literally set a rabbit on fire. Now, granted, it was probably doused in alcohol, and they immediately put the damn thing out. I would hope.
Or
Well,
they
I don't
did.
think
Or they
I don't
did.
think it was a live rabbit.
not
'Cause you
get-
could tell it looked like its legs were like this. It was kind of like I think it was a stuffed fake,
Well,
you know,
there
a
was
real
one
rabbit.
that bounced up in one scene.
Hmm.
There was one scene where it bounced up and it was on fire, but then there was the more, I think it was when they started using the flamethrowers, that yeah, it was definitely like a mock bunny. But it got me thinking, like, were there any of those rabbits harmed in the making of this film? And so I started checking IMDb, and all I got was like they started out with 24, and those damn rabbits reproduced to be like about 100 by the time they started filming. So they had a surplus of rabbits.
Well, I
Oh,
did
and this
find
was the last
this.
movie that Deforest Kelley did.
It was.
Like, bit of Star Trek. This was the last um, film that he did outside of voice roles or the various Star Trek movies.
Mhm.
So I was kind of bummed about that. I thought, like, this guy's been in Western serials and whatnot, and he's done a lot of movies, and he's the cool guy of the Star Trek bunch because everybody got along with him, even though everybody else had beef. Like, DeForest Kelley was the man.
Well, one thing I did find, it said here, it says that it was shot in Arizona, including the scenes filmed underground within Colossal Cave Mountain Park. Night of the Lepus used domestic rabbits filmed against miniature models and actors dressed in rabbit costumes for the attack scenes. So, I'm just saying that it seemed to me like they really tried very hard to do a good job when it came to the rabbits and the miniatures and all that, and that the people were probably really excited about doing it and things like that because there wasn't a lot of that type of stuff being done. You know what I mean? Until I don't remember when it seemed like it picked up. We started getting more of them, but that whole thing was just it was fun. I mean, it looked like it was a lot of fun to do some of that. And like they said, with the helicopter and the little flashlight shining down on them, you could tell they made an effort to try
Yeah.
to make it look as authentic as they possibly can, and to get the camper to look like the real camper. You know, all that they did a good job. I thought that's why I'm not giving it a lower score, because I could tell the people that did all of those things work their butts off and try to make it authentic, to go with the other stuff. It was the other people that dropped the ball, and it's, in a way, it's really sad that they did that to me. It just wasn't good. But then I found this. I wanted to read this to you guys. It says, in horror films in the 1970s, John Kenneth Murr felt it one of the most ridiculous horror films. He's talking about this movie, with a poor blend of horror and environmentalism, that resulted in it being more of a comedy. He criticized the primitive special effects, badly done editing, and laughable dialogue, and noted that while the rabbits and actors are rarely seen on screen together, the filmmakers used obviously fake rabbit paws and people in rabbit suits for the few scenes calling for human rabbit interaction. Like most critics, he pointed out that the rabbits were cute bunnies rather than fanged, disease-ridden, mutated creatures, but he felt the actors did the best they could with the material, and then praised them for keeping straight faces as they heroically stood against the onslaught of the bunnies. So I thought that was a pretty good review that someone gave, talking about this. That review came out, a little bit after the movie came out itself at the movie theater. So people were talking about it. It just seemed like it didn't get, uh, you know, very much view time because they were trying to like sweep it under the rug as fast as they could. So, well, I just want to give kudos to the people that did all the special effects.
It did come out in '72, so there's some competition from Francis Ford Coppola at the time.
For which one?
The Godfather.
Oh, well, that wasn't a sci-fi horror. Was
No,
there any other sci-fi movies that were out at the same time as this one?
they'd be of the dystopian stuff that like Silent Running was. Let me check.
I'm just saying because uh, they it just seemed like these two people, this producer and this director, were just trying to add something that they've never done to the resume, basically. And that's as high and hard work that they put into it was that. The other people involved that they hired to
If they
do
had
this
a bigger budget,
did it. You know what I mean?
You
if they
had
had more money and maybe more studio support, I could see it being slightly better, if not immensely better.
you had
And unfortunately, it did that.
you have the year before. So here's some movies that might have still been in the theaters from the year before. You had the Andromeda's Train, Clockwork Orange, Escape from Planet of the Apes, Gamera versus Zigra, Glenn and Randa, Godzilla versus Hedorah, Incredible Two-Headed Serpent Transplant, The $1 Million Duck, Octoman, The Omega Man with Charlton Heston, Out of the Darkness, Quest for Love, Resurrection of Zachary Wheeler, THX 1138, and You Are a Widow, Sir. 72. You have 93 Degree Tunnel, The Outfix, Beware the Blob, The Boy Who Turned Yellow, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, Doomsday Machine, Doom Watch, Elomia, Godzilla vs. Gigan, The Ground Star Conspiracy with George Papard, The Happiness Cage, Horror Express with Telly Savalas and Christopher Lee, Love 2002, Man with a Transplanted Brain, Night of the Lepus, Now You See Him, Now You Don't with Kurt Russell, Phaeton, the Son of the Sun, Silent Running with Bruce Dern, Slaughterhouse 5 with Michael Sachs, Solaris, the Russian original movie, Super Beast, The Thing with Two Heads, The Twilight People, and ZPG with Oliver Reed.
So all
You
that,
had a good chunk. You had a good chunk of sci-fi movies coming out of this.
so that's why probably they both wanted to make this movie so they could put that on their resume, because they knew that more sci-fis were coming out and then they would probably get more offers, and be able to get better actors to come to their, calling when they decide to make another movie, even if it had sci-fi in it or horror, because they had something on their resume now. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that might have been why they did it. I'm just saying, a lot of people don't just make movies like this knowing they're going to lose money unless there's a reason behind it.
There
So,
is a guy by the name of Huey Bull who exploited a tax loophole in Canada since the 1990s. And he's done nothing but make horrible video game to movie translations that never pan out.
well, as long as he's able to get people to invest in it as a write-off or whatever the reason they're doing it, then he's got himself a niche. But a lot of people will do stuff to destroy one person's movie to make theirs go higher up on the list, especially if it's coming out around the same time, as you've seen with some of the movies that we've done. That other ones were studios will try to backstab them, so they can stop their movie, or even hire somebody to go over to the other place and do the job of the editor or a sound mixer or whatever else to try to ruin it for the other movie to boost theirs, that type of stuff. It's terrible to think that, but people do it. They've been doing it for a long time. So to me, it just seems odd that these two people got together and decided to make this movie with that many good actors and not try to make it more successful.
This movie failed in a lot of aspects.
Hmm.
Um,
But not because of the people that did the work on the rabbits and the
No.
miniature stuff. You could tell they cared about what they were doing. It's like two different movies. I mean, really, if you go back and watch it again, you can watch it. It's like the people that made the Western part of the movie, I'll just use it that way because that's how he was filming it, didn't seem to care that it was supposed to be a sci-fi horror movie. I don't know.
no, they didn't. There's a definite feeling of a lack of give a shit.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I hate to say that because this movie has a lot
Ew.
that it could have. It has a lot of promise. I'm a big fan of Deforest Kelley because Star Trek, and as are the rest of you.
Hmm.
But the rest of the film, like, it's just peppered with really good stars. You've got fucking Janet Leigh, and I've watched her scream for many, many, many hours. I've seen Psycho enough times to where I couldn't write the script, but I could enjoy it enough to where I probably, could make it sound like I took a few semesters of film theory at a college, at a community college in California. But I've got to say that she's an accredited actress. She's really good at her job when she gives a shit about it. This
Hmm.
movie, I just didn't feel like she gave a shit. Like, this is akin to like one of those Bruce Willis movies that came out in the last 5 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And if you've seen any of those, God bless you. I understand you wanted Bruce to make it and pay his mortgage, but he was
But it
nearly.
wasn't because he wasn't trying. It was because he didn't really have what he needed anymore
Mm-mm.
to try the best he could. You know what I mean?
He's got to have a piece in his ear so he can communicate with people because his
So,
ears are
but
shot.
but that's two different things.
Yeah, but
Them not wanting to move, not caring, just to get a check,
yeah,
and they did it like they would any Western. Okay, because you don't have to put that much stuff in it. That's how they're made. That's how some of those were made back then. Well, sci-fi's aren't made the same way.
no,
So, and the parts that
And she's a
DeForest
professional
Kelley was
actress too.
in, he really didn't. I thought he did pretty good considering what he was doing. It was the other people that seemed to drop the ball the most to me. The ones when they were looking at the aftermath. If they'd fix the aftermath to make it more believable, to match the effort that went into the sci-fi portions of the movie, I think it would have brought it up a couple notches.
I
Honestly.
I've always heard that you never want to film with animals and you never want to film with kids. I don't know how true that is because I
That's true.
I don't have an IMDb page.
I've done stuff with both of them, and I didn't have a problem with it. It all goes down to who your
They'll drive
director
you nuts.
is and who's involved. Honestly, it really does.
Okay, I
Look
just
at what was the name of that TV show with the guy, and he was a lawyer, and his dad had a little dog on the show, and I can't
thinking
remember.
about Frasier.
What
Oh,
was
that
it?
was Frasier.
Right, yeah, Frasier, and it had a dog
Frasier.
in it, and they had kids in there sometimes, and it was a good show.
But it
That was
wasn't dozens of dogs or dozens of kids.
Well,
Yeah,
the,
the
At
dog
that
was
point, you're
super.
literally herding cats with either children or animals.
and then you had what Kindergarten Cop. It was good. A
Okay,
lot of kids in it. So I'm just saying you have to have people that look at the script and say, I love this script and I want to see it kick ass. And you're going to have a good movie.
yeah,
That's what you get.
I would like to think that since Janet Leigh was a professional actress,
Hmm.
she didn't have the heart to just walk off the film, because a lot of people probably would,
Yeah. I
but
don't
her
think
heart
you
wasn't in it because it was probably a clusterfuck in order to make. But after watching this, I would recommend watching Psycho, or better yet, The Fog,
do. Hmm.
because she's in it, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. And Jamie Lee Curtis couldn't be in this because Janet Leigh didn't want to have anything to do with horror movies and her two kids in horror movies, which is ironic because Jamie Lee Curtis became a scream queen later on, and
Yeah.
that's kind of funny.
Hmm.
I I don't know. I gotta say that I really enjoyed a lot of this film. My 55 score, I didn't mean to have it like, wow, you guys really like that movie too? That's awesome. Um, we got a choice for next week's film.
Hmm.
We've got The Blob from 1988, or Hell Comes to Frogtown
That,
with Roddy Piper?
ooh, okay.
Which one do you want
I'll let
best?
you guys choose.
As
I'll
much
let you
as I
choose.
like the Blob, you guys got to see that. So we should do Hell Comes to
I haven't
Frogtown.
seen either one. I haven't
Okay.
seen either one, so it's a toss up for me.
All right. So Hell Comes to Frogtown for next week. 'Cause I'm sorry, I want to see good, campy, almost schlocky fun. I'm that's the mood I'm in. And April, kind of a funny month. We could go the route of comedy, but what are the other comedies we've got on there? We've got Porky's, The Big Lebowski,
Yeah, I want to watch Porky's.
um, Kentucky Fried Movie, The Birdcage. But
Definitely do that one. That's what because that was on my list.
The Birdcage, I
Are we
actually
talking about the 90s version or the original
the one with
for the
Robin
Birdcage?
Williams. I want to do that on the 27th.
Okay.
I think that'd be a good movie for the last
I
final.
want to also put Rain Man on our list because I think it was on our original list, but I wrote it down on the note and had to get my note.
Mm.
Even though I don't really care for Tom Cruise that much, I love Dustin Hoffman. And I wanted Gene Hackman in The Birdcage because I thought he was phenomenal in that movie. And the fact that someone as dramatic of an actor as him could dress in drag and still be manly in it is freaking cool. I mean, honestly, because not very many people could pull that off.
Okay.
William Dafoe did it too. Remember in the other movie we watched,
Yeah, and
he was still badass. You see what I mean? Because he's a real man. I don't know. It's just things like that. I think to me add to their acting abilities. To be believable in a character and in that part. You see what I mean?
mhm.
That's why I picked that one. And all the actors are good in it. And how many of them are gone now in that movie?
Don't. You're
See,
gonna
Gene
get
Hackman
you're gonna
and
get disappointed.
well, there's a lot that are
Don't
dead now. So
don't do that. You're gonna get disappointed when you start seeing all this. When you see all of these people that are no longer here, that's when you're like, fuck. Because that's where we're at. I mean, everything comes to an end. Everybody, we all get to face that, but it's so sad. And like the original Star Trek, all we have left is Takei, Koenig, and Shat.
and I'm glad I got to meet Shatner in person. So and a couple others. I'd have to go get my book out. But I got to meet Christopher Lloyd in person. Oh, it was great. So because he was a mean Klingon.
For the longest time, I thought he was the best Klingon. I honestly felt he was the best Klingon we could ever get because he, over and above, just completely knocked out of the park. And up until when I saw Star Trek 6 for the first time, like 4 years ago, I'd never seen the Undiscovered Country. I
Really?
what?
You hadn't seen it?
Not until 4 years. Not until 4 years ago when I saw it, I thought, "Wow, this movie is awesome." And this fucking actor, he actually put fucking Christopher Lloyd and made him look like a bit part because
Yeah. See, we need to watch all the movies. We need to watch all the Star Trek movies.
I'm. We watched all of Star Trek Continues, and I love that.
I mean, movies.
I
All
I
the-
I don't want to watch the motion picture because the motion picture just bores the hell out of me, and I wish it didn't. But
well, I'd like to do it because I want to wear that bald wig.
Persia comes out
Yeah,
of such a hottie. If she could have been just a little bit hotter,
I thought she was gorgeous. I thought
she's
she was a
one
beautiful
of the
woman.
most beautiful women ever to be on film. It's just sad that, hey, Maria, um, there was a movie she was in called Megaforce, and I got to put that on the upcoming streams because Like I said, I like schlock, and schlock is just a fun thing.
Yeah.
Um, Next week, we're watching Hell Comes to Frogtown, and we'll be doing our dissertation after we do that. Probably about
Jeez. Ah, it's gonna be creepy, but oh well.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll like it, but I'm just saying it's gonna be
That
different.
that trailer sums it up perfectly.
I just
Thanks to Nerdy Ogre for the recommendation.
yeah,
I
we're
can't
gonna
believe
try
that
to
I had forgotten.
yeah,
And then
Christopher
Return to
Plummer was
Frogtown. You guys
bang.
gotta watch.
Oh my god, he was so good in that movie. All right, my name is Bruce. With me today is Janet from Another Planet and Six Nations, 31 Kings. We will be bringing you back a girl, some guys in a movie next Sunday with the discussion for Hell Comes to Frogtown. To all of you, have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of your time and look forward to seeing you once again Sunday. And until then, the balcony is closed.